Hello, Amod sir. Can we start?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Varsha Murlidharan, and on behalf of the IMA Christ Student Chapter, it is my privilege to welcome you to SAAT 2025, the Strategic Alumni and Achievers Think Tank. I will be your host for today's session. As our BCom Strategic Finance program turns 7, we celebrate a community built on growth, mentorship, and ambition. SAAT isn't just an acronym, it means together in Hindi, reflecting the collective spirit of our strategic finance community. It marks the 7th year of this program. 7 batches, 7 days of conversation, 7 essential career skills beginning on the 7th of July. Over the next 7 evenings, speakers from each batch will share their journeys, from boardrooms to startups, global firms to sports arenas. These aren't just case studies, they're real lived experiences. We're grateful to the IMA Bangalore chapter, whose unwavering support and mentorship continue to guide us. Special thanks to our faculty coordinator, Dr. Sunil MP, and every member of the IMA Christ Student chapter for bringing this vision to life. We now begin day one of SAAT 2025 with a thought provoking session. Where do non coders belong in the AI driven financial future? It is my privilege to introduce our speaker for the evening, Mr. Amod Nair. Mr. Nair is a relationship manager at Crystal AI, a global digital wealth platform that leverages AI to deliver intelligent investment solutions. With a strong foundation in finance and product strategy, he brings a unique perspective, proving that you don't need to code to make a meaningful impact in tech driven finance. Throughout his career, he has worked at the intersection of business, technology, and user experience, showing how non technical professionals can thrive and lead in today's digital economy. We're honored to have him here and kick off SAAT 2025. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Amod Nair.
thank you so much, Vasha. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, right, to discuss a topic that is increasingly vital in the rapidly evolving financial world, right? Firstly, I would like to thank Christ University Commerce Department, IMA Christ Student Chapter for organizing this, right? Coming from the first batch of strategic finance, it never felt we would go this far, but we have come a long way and hope that we reach more greater heights in the coming years. So I think we'll quickly start off with, I think, the particular topic that we have in hand today, right? Firstly, I would like to ask how many of you have this perception of only coders or people from tech background need, thrive, need this as a background to thrive in the finance journey? So I think that's the general perception, right? Where you feel only people who have learned the skill of coding or who are from tech background or who have been in the field of science are able to, you know, take more opportunities in the finance field, right? Especially with AI coming at the core. Now, the future of finance, or as a perception, is with the rise of AI is exclusively not belonging to just coders, right? We'll challenge it today as a perception and illuminate how profoundly the impact can be for someone who has been in the non-technical profession, right? And we'll explore where non-coders fit today in this world and how they can, lead the new era. So, looking at the next slide, right, where evolving financial landscape, AI at the core. Now, how finance has changed is we want to look at. Number one, there has been a digital transformation. There has been processes that were done manually, correct? For decades, it was just all about traditional banking, trading flows, manual processes where reconciliation was done at, with people sitting with large numbers and books, right? But now that has changed rapidly. We have seen the rise of AI and machine learning, artificial intelligence and machine learning in this new era, correct? So they are no longer buzzwords now. They are fundamentally drivers of how the world has changed. If you would look, I think, globally, how the impact has been of machine learning and artificial intelligence, right? We have seen ChatGPT, we have seen Gemini, Claude, Grok, and everything that has been a major driver in changing the world globally, and which has in return reduced the cost for every organization and increased their efficiency, right? So that has been the main driver. And I feel particularly someone who has been a non-tech background would need to understand it more better, how you can utilize these available opportunities when the world has changed rapidly, and how you can take advantage of all the AI and machine learning that we have today, right? There are, websites that you can particularly build apps, or you can particularly build, your dashboards over. Today you don't need coders, to be honest, right? There are websites like Rollout or Bolt which can definitely help you build something which very unique, right? And I think going forward, the role of coders is kind of shifting towards non-coder, right? Even if you see people from tech background, they eventually move on to the, non-tech fields. They end up doing MBA or would want to go into the other side of coding, because coding is something that seems to be attractive, which is kind of interested, and that's kind of an acquired skill, right? Not everybody from tech background also ends up in coding. So we have to see how it has evolved over a time and how we can benefit from it. So here is what we need to understand beyond the code, right? So looking at the non-technical imperative. Now, AI doesn't mean that it will do its own job or the coders are sufficient to run an organization, right? AI needs human intelligence. AI is just generating a particular requirement that you are inputting into, right? So that is a driver, or that is a force that is giving you a particular output, correct? Here is a crucial insight: for all its sophistication, it's just as a tool, correct? Now, for its effectiveness or efficacy depends on how much, you know, rightly you are using a particular tool, how you are able to, wield it for your purpose, and what is the exactly gap that you're able to bridge, right? And that's where bridging the gap comes in the place, where there are technical capabilities of AI and world needs, there are multiple problems in the world that needs a solution, right? So non-coders are someone who would want to understand the problem, how it can be solved, putting a mind onto it and then solving it, right? And now how to solve it or how to build, that is where you will take help from the technical aspect of it, or people who have expertise in the technical side, correct? And understanding the why is again a critical question, right? Because just making something doesn't solve a problem, right? It should be something that impacts society at large for good, and the solution should be ethical, right? It should impact the customers, and how is it impacting the customers, correct? So these are the questions AI cannot answer at all. You need to be on the forefront of it. You need to build it by the people who are, in the technical domain, and then understand it, why is it working or why is it not working, right? And then next last one is a holistic value creation, right? So that is something where you need a synergized blend of a non-technical and a technical expertise, right? There are core values still in the professional or corporate world which you need to understand the, financial aspect of it, right? It cannot be just you building a code or you working on an aspect, right? You should be able to understand what it is bringing out of it, correct? What values that you have imbibed into it can generate more returns for you. So next, I think would be a deep dive into the relationship management in the AI era, right? How it, kind of can in this today's world give you an essential, essential on how you can focus more on it. So I want to share over here a personal experience, right? From a prominent wealth management role, since I intimately know this role, and historically, this role was particularly reliant on individual knowledge and manual processes. Right now, today AI is transforming it. Right, it's not about replacing the RMs or replacing operations at a wealth management firm or replacing some legal people or corporate finance people. Right, it is how AI can provide you vast amount of market data and how you can process it. Correct. This means we as an RMs get truly personalized recommendations. Our time is saved, is freed up for other important aspects of it, where we are able to understand the client query, where we can give our personal recommendations, right? So that's what we called a phygital model, correct? Where physical and digital model comes into play. So a digital aspect not alone be into a picture and solve all the problems, you need human intervention as well. Correct. That is where AI and human model, when they come together, they create a deeper impact. You can get enhanced insights, right? So nowadays, data is the new oil, as we say. Correct. So you need to have the understanding of what data is produced and what you can make out of it, right? That's also a very good skill of having an data set of data with you, and then how you are able to play around with it, right? What information you can gather out of it, how you can reach out to your clients from that information, how you can generate more revenue based on that. Correct. So I think that is something which creates a huge impact in a wealth management business, particularly where I come from, right? And we have changed the whole aspect of how we used to work initially and how after AI has come into play, right? Now I'd give you an example where, so earlier, all the reconciliations in the operations used to be manually, right? All the understanding of client, understanding of products was used to be done manually, right? By RMs. And even from the client's end, understanding a product was something that they had to put efforts into, right? So now we have created our own in-house AI software, right? Which is called Jarvis. So Jarvis would, I think Marvel fans would kind of relate with it. So that is something which we have built in house to help the RMs and clients as well, right? What that will do is that will give an RM an insight on what the client's profile is, risk profile, what their prior investments have been, what the current investments are, what recommendations that should give, right? So that is something AI is bringing into use, but you also need your human intervention there, right? Now an AI can only give you information from a certain data point that you input into. Correct. It's a open web, it's collecting sources from different data points and then giving you the information, right? But you need human intervention here to understand what kind of exactly risk profile client is looking for. You guys cannot rely on the entirely AI based data and then move ahead with it. Correct. Because that will take into consideration history, right? You need human mindset to understand what is happening around the world, what the future outlook will be, how the Fed rate would impact your investment. So that is everything you need to look into. And from a client's perspective, I would say, something that they were earlier putting efforts into was to understand the products, right? Global financial products are something not very easy to understand, like how we have in India, right? So India is a very still not open market for financial products. We only have access to just stocks, mutual funds, right? And some options. But global platforms or financial products give you access to structured products, right? So that's a combination of multiple options, right? Hedge funds is another $1 billion industry or $1 trillion industry that we know of. So there are multiple hedge funds that are using, or HFTs, right? High frequency trading firms that are using AI machine learning to, reduce their risk management or, enhance the returns, generate that alpha. Correct. So inputting everything, managing and over, kind of strategizing everything is a big part of, wealth management in the new era. So I think this would be very important, right, in terms of the essential skills that are needed today for a non-coders to thrive. Correct. And as I said, right, so critical thinking, again, if you look at it, and problem solving would be one great skill that you would need to, kind of thrive in this financial journey of your professional career, right? And communication and storytelling is again another aspect not everyone is able to articulate, right? What I have felt is, of course, coming from Christ University, these were the main learners or skills that I imbibed from Christ. Was communications, and other was articulation, right? I still see people who are from, who tech background, who would not be able to speak in front of a client. That is something I'm very proud of, which I am able to talk to clients, right? Understand their query and communicate with them, right? Because building relationships is very important thing, be it any kind of field. Correct. You just cannot be in a particular role and not build relationships. So that will not solve the problem, right? Building relationships is very crucial, be it personal or a professional journey, right? Now data literacy is another essential skill which I was mentioning earlier, right? Understanding what the output has been. Correct. Now you can input anything, you can get the information what you have input as, but understanding what the AI or what a technical person has thrown the output as is very important. correct? So that is something that is also essential for, as a non-coder, if you want to kind of grow in a financial firm, right? And then continuous learning adaptability is something that you need to be agile, definitely, right? Be it any course of field, be it education, be it your career, you need to be agile, you need to understand small aspects of it. Definitely, you need not be someone who would understand or would be very skilled at knowing the technical aspects, but even a small understanding of it would make a great impact, right? And then emotional intelligence and empathy, again, for client facing roles or for team collaboration, that is important, right? And domain expertise in finance is something that doesn't have to be clearly associated with technical aspect or you being a coder. Financial markets is something, if that kind of interests you, you should be very much interested in to go deep dive, study articles, and read what is happening around the world, how markets are working, how regulations work, right? How the legal aspect of it works, correct? So I think these are some of the skills that are essential for non-codals to be able to do something in the financial aspect. So these are some of the key roles which I've put together for non-coders in finance, right? And that this would help you a lot since I've been working in the industry for 4 years now. I know a lot of non-coding, right, opportunities that do exist in the market, and that is something you should look out for. One would be product management. Of course, we all know what product managers do, right? So that they kind of bridges the gap between a coder and a business, development team or a salesperson, right? Because coders cannot understand what the requirement would be. So that is where you as a non-coder step in and understand what the query is and then pass it on to the coder, right? So product management is one of the very ongoing, or one of the very fast going skill that will be needed in this industry. Another would be business development and sales, right? Still, I feel particularly you need to have a skill. Not everyone is able to sell something, right? So that is also a very good skill where you know the product very good at heart, you know all the pros and cons, still you are able to sell it, right? So that is one another job role I feel you can explore in detail. Then compliance and regulation will continue to thrive, right? Now AI doesn't know what is legal and what is not legal. It can give you, advise you, everything, right? So putting your human mindset into it, putting your ethical values into it, how from a compliance and a legal perspective things would work, right, in a financial space, is also very important. Operation and strategy, again, is very, very, very important. As we all know, it's a backbone for any organization, right? Because all the processes, all the orders that are happening, right? If you take an example, very common example of Zerodha, right, which is a financial broker in India. So all your orders that go through is a proper operation standard operating procedure, right, that has been built. Assume that is not in place or not working properly, you would be stranded there, right? Why your order has not been fulfilled, or why it is not reflecting in under your holdings, correct? Why the values are wrong. So everything is very important, and this is essentially a very strong job role that currently is required by many organizations, right? Because operations and strategy is something that will continue to stay, right? And client relationship management, again, is kind of blooming. Middle East is one example, Asia is another example, right? India wealth management scene is going crazy, right? I was just reading an article a few days back published by Hubis, which is a Singapore-based firm, right? So India still currently only have pan India around 500 to 1,000 wealth advisors that are legitimate, right? So assume for a population of 1.4, 1.5 billion, where wealth management is expanding, these kind of roles are something you would want to look forward to, correct? Where you can build your particular expertise, right? And marketing and communications, I don't think I have to say anything about this. This is something which has been there since long and will continue to stay, right? Knowing what to send to your client, what to send to your customers, right? And how to promote, because promotions is also something that is a very skilled thing. Not everyone will understand how to code, or how to promote a particular product or a role, right? So this will also stay.
Thank you so much for your insight, sir. It was genuinely impressive. So, before we kick off the session, and everyone in this meeting who has a question or an insight they would like to be answered can
Sure.
put their question either in the chat box or the Q&A bit. So our first question, all of these questions have been collected from our own students that are attending this session right now. So the first question is, so yours was the first batch of BCom Strategic Finance, and yet you took the risk. Do you ever look back and think about not going down this road at all? So specifically about, going down the fintech path.
Not really, right? I think what what made me get into this was, firstly, I was very much inclined towards financial markets, right? So I was primarily looking for something that could be in this domain, and I was lucky enough to have Crystal AI come over to Christ University, right, for recruitment, and I was already looking for opportunities in this space. Somewhere down the line, I knew if I have to do something, this it will be related to this field only. Usually people or students, when they are almost in their final year, right, they just tend to get placed instead of actually looking for, what they are looking for in a job, or what what the outcome they are looking at. And I was kind of determined that if something I have to do would be related to this field.
Thank you so much, sir. So at Crystal AI, you've had a growing and evolving role. Could you give us a peek into some of the impactful projects you've worked on and how they've added your added value?
So I think I started off my journey at Crystal AI as a digital relationship manager, right? So that was the role I was kind of recruited for. So it was more of servicing our digital clients, and I was a part of the client calls, but not directly advising them, right? And later, I definitely learned the art of, talking to clients, and also understood the financial products that we offer at Crystal. And then my journey expanded to growth and acquisition, so I set up that entire segment within Crystal where we were focusing on acquiring the new clients, and moving the existing clients into the next stage, right, how they can move in the life cycle journey, right. And then the third role which I'm currently into is the relationship management role, right. So this is something then I moved on to. I have managed nearly around 50 million USD of AUM, right, so which I currently do. So I have a client base of B2C clients, right, that sits majorly in Singapore. So I have kind of been able to, very fortunate enough to, spend some time with the clients over there, and also understand their kind of, right, their investment styles and how the financial work journey is for them, right. I think that has given me a huge opportunity on how one can, be in this space and able to generate more returns for these kind of clients. And that kind of gives a kick, right, because when you're working, that is something that interests me, right. And making money for my clients is something I love doing, right. And that has been, I think, one of the major drivers for me staying where I am today.
So the next question is, so for students who feel unsure about their place in a tech-centric finance world, what advice would you give them to unlock their potential and identify their niche specifically, even if they don't know how to code?
I think it's very important first to understand what they want, right? So that will only come once you start working in a corporate sector. I would recommend, if so it's not about you entering into the segment or into your preferred work with once out right after you graduate, right? There is a huge gap in that. You need to first work in a corporate career, corporate structure, understand what you are getting into, and understanding if that is working out for you or not, right. So that is very important. Even I've seen, people from various fields of life. They have worked in multiple avenues, right, but at the end of the day they have chosen something that they love doing, correct. So you cannot expect to be or land onto a job that you want to do from the beginning, right. So I think that is very important that you identify your skill set, right. Maybe you are very good at doing, maybe you're very good at speaking or articulating, right, as a, so then you, wealth management may you can look into, client facing roles, or you can go for consulting or investment banking, right. Maybe if you are very good with numbers, you can go into corporate finance, right? So I think you need to identify your skill set, start working maybe 1 year, 2 year, and then understand what that, if that is something you like or don't like, right? Because in order to identify your skill set, you need to work also. That's how you're able to know what you're good at.
So we have a few questions in the chat box. Would you like me to read them out? Can I read them out, sir?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So Syed Saad said, what skills apart from coding does Crystal AI look at when hiring interns or freshers in business or operations roles?
But definitely they don't look at coding as the aspect, right? One of the aspects. You should be good at, what you are. So see, even as a fresher, when I entered into Crystal, right, I did not have any experience, correct? But whatever experience I had in Christ, right, I used that, right? And you need to understand what the, so basic understanding of financial products is something you need to have, right? What a stock is, right? How stock market works, what a bond is, how bond prices work, how they're related, with the interest rates. So basic financial knowledge is something that you need to know before you enter here, correct? Coding is, I don't even think they look at coding if you want to enter into business or an operations role.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is from Adi Vyas. He said, what would you recommend a second year BBA student to do their certifications on? Specifically, how to land a job in a finance space like D-Shaw.
I think, yeah. So Dshaw is one of the great companies, right, that we have, and of course we know they just, they are very good at recruitment also, right? They are very particular about things. So you need to have, I think, first of all, experience or be very strong in technical aspects, right? I think they are someone who would look at coding from some aspect, if you know SQL or Python or something, right? That is something you need to be sure of. And you also need to understand deeply on how they are working. One of the very good things that, you should be doing when you are applying for a role is that you deep dive into what the particular organization does, right? So I think that for me also worked out. For every time you're giving an interview or something, you go deep down into what the company does, what how the top management is, right? So you get a sense of their working profile or what their product is. I think that helps a lot.
So the next question is, you talked about your formative years at Christ. So what aspects of your academic journey here do you think laid the foundation for you as a non-coder to break into fintech?
I think my Christ definitely has shaped today on what I am, right? And it has my, so as I said, right? So my strengths were in communication and understanding human behavior, right? So that has shaped, my overall career journey. And because being into, when I was in Christ, the focus was on academics, right, at all the times, understanding the particular subjects, be it finance. And since I was interested in finance, the understanding of the product was something that was the main criteria, right? So I was very curious back then, and also worked on some of the projects where I learned about financial markets, right? So definitely that has shaped the career, and I think I'm thankful to Christ for giving me that.
So before we ask our last question, I'm requesting all participants to put their questions in the chat box. So I have seen one person has raised their hand. So if you could just put your question in the chat box. So almost the last question. If you had to leave us with one piece of advice or one line of advice, what would it be?
I think definitely do, what you're good at, and always believe in yourselves. So technical prowess is not something that is the only thing available, right? If that was the case, then we wouldn't have Virgin Atlantic, Starbucks, Airbnb, Alibaba, Apple with us, right? So each one of them had a product vision. Each one of them were good in, communication. They were all from a non-tech background. So if you want to build businesses, if you want to build empires, you don't have to purely be from tech background. Just be yourself, be simple, and be humble always.
Yeah, I think we're done with the questions. If anyone does have any questions, they can put it in the chat box. So thank you so much, sir, for your insightful and eye-opening session. Your journey is proof that even in the age of AI, there's plenty of room for human insight, strategic thinking, and yes, even for non coders. And thank you to our audience for joining us for day one of SAAT. But we're just getting started. Up next, 8th July, tomorrow, we have a session on can you build a startup without knowing how to start. So the speaker who will be speaking is called Mehul Sancheti. He is the CEO of Eski Infotech. He is from the batch of 2019. So he will be talking about how you can go from zero capital to building a D2C business, and he'll break down the real hustle for first gen entrepreneurship. Follow us on Instagram and keep an eye out for a feedback form that will be shared shortly. See you at the next session. Until then, stay curious, stay strategic, and keep aiming higher.
Thank you so much, all. Have a
Thank
great
you so much,
evening.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.